Hi, I'm Melissa Bill, and welcome to the Business Roundup, where we meet the movers and shakers in the business world. Today, joining me is Joseph Gonzalez. He's the founder and CEO at Level Up Insurance and Engage Media host of the Blueprint podcast. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Melissa. I appreciate you taking the time to have me on.
Well, insurance is a big topic, especially here in Florida, where we have some issue. We got the hurricanes, we got different issues going on. And I think a lot of people will be very interested in what you have to say and some of the topics we're going to cover. Can you start off a little bit about giving some background on you and your company?
Absolutely, Melissa. So I've been in business for the last 5 years. So I got into the insurance industry in January 2020, right before the pandemic. Very interesting time to start any business. For some of us, there's something positive that comes out of everything that's negative, and we were fortunate enough to be able to thrive during the pandemic. And what we do, Melissa, essentially is just help families with any type of insurance, whether that's life, health, property and casualty, auto, homeowners, you name it. We are a one-stop shop for your insurance needs. And then Engage Media is our production company. So in today's day and age, really everything is kind of what you and I are doing right now is, everything is it's through a camera and video and social media. And just kind of like the need of the business dictated that instead of me spending so much money shooting content and recording things, we just started a company which is really meant to just help entrepreneurs, small businesses who have a hard time getting on social media, getting in front of a camera, trying to make that process seamless for them. I think our core principle through both of my companies is we like to help people. We put our clients first. And yeah, that's what we do, and we love it. I love everything I do, and I wouldn't change a thing.
Oh, that's amazing. No, definitely. And you have to be computer savvy and technology savvy. And that's a great thing because I know some people aren't. I know I wasn't for a while, and then I had to learn and kind of upgrade my skills. So, but now I know you were saying that when you go to search for insurance, you need to have a certain mindset. Now, what can you discuss more about that?
Absolutely. So, think one of the biggest mistakes that consumers make when they're looking for insurance in the marketplace is it's all tied back typically to just pricing. And this is when having a good agent or a good agency work with you really comes in, because what you really should be looking at is long term. Let's just use homeowners as an example. Is it renewable? How long is their insurance policy for? What are my rates going to look like after X amount of time? Which are typical questions that even though people might know of, they don't really lead with. They're more leading with like how affordable can it be today? What's my, out of pocket right away? And then we have tons of clients that come to us that unfortunately are in a position that is really tough for them, and it typically ties back to the original purchase because their mindset was just finding the most affordable policy rather than finding the best policy as a whole, which is not necessarily the most affordable short term. It can be, but not necessarily. But long term, what's really best for them and their families.
Yeah, I even for myself, I noticed too, like you can buy at a certain price, but then the next year it goes up quite a bit. So there's probably stipulations in the paperwork.
100%. And I am going back to my point. Here at Level Up, we have over 250 agents that specialize in helping families. And the way that I like to explain things where a third grader could understand them. We simply pay our agents more, so when they're helping clients, they're not worried about making money off of the clients. They're actually worried about truly assisting the client, because they're going to be taken care of regardless by our agency. And that's kind of like the entire idea behind it is if a client gets the right agent by their side, an agent that knows not only knows their stuff, but that is not commission hungry, that is not just looking to make a dollar off of that client. Typically, the agent can really walk the consumer through this entire process because let's just be honest, we study for insurance licenses. Most consumers don't have an insurance license. They're not expected to know everything. And I think if there's one thing that anybody watching this can get out of this is find the right agent, find somebody that you can work with, and then try to obviously stick with them because you'll build a relationship and they'll start knowing your needs and they'll start being able to kind of predetermine more or less what you need. And obviously, in a conversation, be able to really determine what's going to be best for you long term.
And now the one thing you said too, what I was reading was expect the unexpected. Okay, so you're going to plan for those worst case scenarios. What do you mean by that? Like what should people be doing?
So They need to definitely have the agent explain the fine print. Read your policies, something that is so underrated. Policies get, I mean, nowadays a lot of them are sent electronically, but that you still get a physical copy. Look at your policy, review it. If you don't understand something, and let's say you don't necessarily trust the agent because it's the first time you work with them, other insurance carriers are regulated at a state level. You can call the carrier directly, and they're obligated to tell you the information that you're seeking. So if you get your policy and you read it, and there's something that doesn't make sense, and you don't necessarily trust your agent, you can call the insurance carrier directly. But more people than not are getting that policy in the mail and they're sticking it in the drawer somewhere, and they don't really pull it out until they they really need to use it, and by that time it might be too late.
And then they notice something that is a big problem down the road.
And my agent didn't tell me, and yep, that agent's probably not even in the business anymore, which is, yeah, it's tough.
Which happens, I'm sure, quite a bit.
Awesome. It definitely does. I mean, and we're talking about homeowners, but we know we deal a lot with life insurance, which is the worst time because then you're not dealing with the client, you're dealing with the client's beneficiary, a family member that thought their spouse, their parent had a specific policy in place. They passed away. That person passed away thinking they took care of their family, left them in a good spot. It turns out they had something different because they didn't read the policy. So yeah, the information is in the policy. Carriers do a summary in the front page where they kind of break it down, and then there's more things you could look into, but they try to make it easier to read because the law does protect the consumer. But unfortunately, there's not enough digging in that happens post purchase, right? You get a lot of questions answered pre-purchase, but post-purchase you need to verify, and that is a huge gap right now when it comes to the education side of the consumer.
And that would be another thing is keeping being like proactive about things. You want to like, I guess you need to update your strategies from time to time. So people might not have the same needs or the goals later on down the road. You do you normally like to have a check-in with clients?
So we like to do annual policy reviews for the same exact reason that you just said, and across all lines of insurance. And especially the ones that don't require for you to renew them maybe like every year. Some policies are longer terms. So yeah, we do annual policy reviews, and I encourage anybody who has insurance, which is pretty much anybody, to do annual policy reviews because not only do your needs change, but the market changes as well. And what I like to tell people when we do a policy review, it's I'm the good news guy because I'm either going to tell you that you're in the best possible position, which is great, or that you could be in a better position than where you are today, which is even better. So nothing negative really comes out of a policy review. It's something that everybody should do. I know our lives are really busy, and sometimes it feels like you put that off, but insurance is there for a reason, and doing those policy reviews can avoid a huge headache because anything that changed in your life over the last 12 months could affect you when it's time to file a claim with your policy.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And again, too, like sometimes we fear certain things or, we don't know what's going to happen down the future. But having knowledge, that kind of is going to enable people as well. Like the more knowledgeable they are about these types of things, the better off they're going to be able to look for the right policies and avoid, like you're saying, like big dilemmas at the end of the year or when, something bad happens.
And if you're watching this, if you go to levelupinsuranceGroup.com and you just fill out the contact form, we host monthly webinars just educating clients. And even a step beyond that, each insurance carrier has a marketing department that their job is to educate as well. So there's plenty of ways to get a human, because I know sometimes maybe looking up online, you don't know what you're reading is accurate or not. There's plenty of ways to hear it straight from the horse's mouth of the information that you're looking for, and there's plenty of education out there for you to go grab to make sure that you are protected. I can't stress that enough. The insurance is a beautiful business because we get to protect people's assets and their well-being. But there's also a I don't want to say a sad part to my business, but a part that I wish was better, which is when we have to give bad news that what they think they're going to get, they're not getting because of a lack of education. Obviously, education being kind of like the common word that I keep using through our conversation here, Melissa. But I can't stress that enough. It's a huge, huge, huge deal to know what you have and to make sure that you understand what you're getting if you're purchasing or what you have post purchase once you have it in place.
And now you deal with what types of insurance? So it's car, homeowners, life insurance, anything else?
Health insurance as well.
Health insurance. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, liability commercial for small and medium-sized businesses. I mean, we have insurance for pets.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, obviously visits to the vet are expensive for all my dog or pet lovers out there. So there's insurance for pretty much anything. And I think obviously prioritizing what you need to insure, some things are required by the law, right? You need auto, you need homeowners if you have a mortgage on your house. But I will tell you the ones that are not required tend to be even more important because like life insurance is something that we try to bring a lot of awareness to. We insure our phones, our cars, our houses. We insure pretty much everything, our jewelry. Those that like to buy jewelry, but we don't insure our lives. The average cost of a funeral in the United States is upwards of $22,000 as of 2024. It's just the basic financial burden that's left behind when somebody passes away. And obviously, being able to hand down generational wealth, the easiest way to pass down generational wealth is through life insurance. So we love building awareness for life insurance as it is. But yeah, like I said, we're a one-stop shop. We provide monthly webinars, educational webinars on each type of insurance, so not just one type. And our goal is to have our agents in the best possible position to educate and to truly take care of clients, which is why we're so transparent about how much we pay them. We take care of them to make sure that money is not a factor when they're talking to the consumer and to the clients, where they're truly putting their best interests ahead.
Right. That makes sense because you want them to be an expert, not just working there. They need to be an expert in that field.
Not chasing money, because that is what we see a lot. If I tell you all the bad things that happen, it's typically an agent, whether it was lack of education or just chasing commission. It's important to know who you're working with and to even fact check some of the things they tell you at times. And obviously, as you build a relationship, then maybe you start giving a little bit more trust to that agent. But listen, I challenge some of my clients to let's call the companies together, just to make sure that what I am telling you is actually correct, and so you could obviously verify that the information you're receiving today is accurate.
Now, are there any big changes that you've seen in like the field? I mean, in general, in like insurance in Florida, like specifically?
Yeah, I think obviously homeowners is a hot topic. It's a tough insurance market for both consumers and for us, the distribution channels, because carriers have gotten hammered obviously through storms and things of that nature. Specifically, it's all the entire state as a whole. I mean, over the last 5 years, there's been a major storm in South Florida, a major storm in the west coast of Florida, and a major storm in the Panhandle. So there really isn't an area of Florida that hasn't been affected. And I bring that up because a lot of these policies are the county you live in makes a difference, right? It's not just the state. Because it's down to county, down to zip codes in certain areas. Obviously, if you live closer to the water, you're more exposed. But as a whole, the market it's been tough. There's really in the Tri-County area where I live and where the majority of our business takes place in South Florida, there's really one carrier that's going to protect you and it's going to cover you for the most part, right? There are exceptions to certain houses and I might have just gone through like claims and things of that nature. But if anything else fails, they'll be there. But what I tell people is, especially if the ones shopping for homes, because here's what I think the biggest shock. Anybody who's already a homeowner, who's already paying for insurance, kind of knows what's happening. I mean, they've been dealing with it for however long they've had their property. But we see a lot of first-time homeowners who are purchasing homes and they're pricing it out solely off of the cost of the property. And then they budget for a specific property, a specific mortgage payment. And then when they find out they're going to pay an insurance, kind of throws out the last 6 months of shopping around they've been doing because it just completely blindsides them. But again, going back to awareness, I think the biggest thing is just being aware, just staying on the topic. I mean, we do a pretty good job, and not just myself, but everybody in our industry with the internet nowadays of being on socials and providing information. But yeah, just kind of keeping your ear to the ground because it's such a big part of our life. Nobody likes talking about insurance, but everybody has it. So it's a big part of our lives, and just being aware, being educated. So when the time comes for you to shop for any type of policy, you kind of have an understanding of the landscape. I think that that would be the one tip that I'll give to somebody who's maybe not necessarily shopping for insurance today, but at some point there will be. And yeah,
Preparing for the future.
absolutely.
Yep. And now you have the Blueprint podcast. So, what are some of the topics you cover or discuss on that?
Great. So the Blueprint podcast is a podcast where I interview business owners, similar to what you're doing with me right now. So it's kind of weird for me to be on the other side of the conversation of the questions. I mean, obviously, we've talked a lot about the consumer side, but something that I love about my business right now is that I mentioned we have over 250 agents. You know, they're all 1099 independent contractors. They all theoretically run their own business. And it's allowed me to empower a lot of people. The insurance industry has to be able to make money, to seek financial freedom, to change their financial lives for them and their families. And the blueprint really is just an extension of that. We bring on business owners of all types, so not only insurance, and we have them lay out the blueprint. You know, we have them walk us through their journey, through their trials and tribulations, through the things that have worked, the things that haven't worked. Because right now, the workforce, there's been a huge shift where your traditional W-2 job is becoming less valuable by the day. Most people are seeking financial independence and work independence. And it doesn't necessarily mean start a big company. It could be something as simple as getting an insurance license and becoming an insurance agent where you're kind of a solopreneur. And it's become such a popular and such a big movement that we saw the need and the opportunity to just go out and educate. You know, I keep using the word education, but I've been able to build a big, a decent sized business off of educating alone. That has been the one thing that I've done from the moment I got my insurance license, educating clients, educating agents, and now educating aspiring business owners or current business owners who are just looking for, you know, for some sort of wisdom or anything that they could use to implement in their own companies.
That makes sense. Yeah, because a lot of people, everybody has their journey, whether it's whatever you've been in. I had my news journey and things that I learned along the way. And I'd say, to someone who was going to school back when I was like, don't do that. But, or this is the way you want to go, or this is going to save you the rough spots and stuff like that. So it's kind of like an entrepreneurial type of journey and kind of navigating through that. That is cool. How often do you do the show?
Yeah, so we once a week, every Friday we drop an episode. And I'll tell you this, Melissa, podcasts have so I didn't go to college. I didn't finish school. I got into sales right out of high school, and through podcasts, I've gotten most of my education, and through hours and hours and hundreds, if not thousands of hours of listening to podcasts, I've been able to save years, like tens of years of things that I would have had to figure out through trial and error, because the information is out there. You know, it's just a matter of finding it and seeking it and obviously interpreting it in a way where you could apply it. So that's kind of our goal with the blueprint is kind of provide as much value, knowledge, information as we can to hopefully, if we, I always say in every episode, if we could touch one person with this episode, we did our job and potentially save them a lot of heartache, a lot of hard times, and maybe even years of trying to figure something out with something that we cover on the podcast. That's kind of like the goal behind it. And so far, I mean, it's a relatively new show. We've been at it for a few months. I think today we dropped our 15th or 16th episode. But it's been amazing. I mean, we get to build relationships with other business owners, and we're having, our following is growing with every episode, and we're extremely excited for what the future holds.
Yeah, I want to check it out. So if I want to go, I guess go to your website, would that be the best place?
100%. So my website, you can find it there, but I'm big on social media, Instagram, Facebook. My Instagram handle, my personal handle is Joseph G. So my first name and my last letter initial. It's that simple to find me. And from there you'll be able to find everything that we do, whether that's my production company, whether that's our podcast, or if you need help with insurance, whether that's you wanting to work with us or you're looking for insurance coverage, all through my Instagram, Joseph G. You'll be able to find me there.
All right, amazing one. Thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having me, Melissa, and can't wait to see the finished product there.